Want to thank you all for joining our Facebook Live session today. I'm Debbie Ivie, NetVU's Learning Experiences Manager, and I am so excited to be part of this new effort to find new ways to get in touch with you all. Just a little bit about what I do here at NetVU. As a Learning Experiences Manager, I lead a team that focuses on all things education. That team includes NetVU staffers Brittany Brockman, she's our Education Coordinator, and Lauren Crosby, Chapter Coordinator, and Whitney Ioma, Chapter Specialist. And of course, the team of volunteers who put in tons of time and effort to create the best learning experiences possible for all of you. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got several things that I've been asked to share with you today. First of all, I want to be sure that you've all heard that NetVU Conference has a new name. We are now Accelerate, powered by NetVU. So you might be asking, why the word accelerate? Well, we want you to feel and experience the forward momentum that's created by being engaged with NetVU and Vertafore. Being part of that forward momentum, you have an opportunity to make you and your company great by working to fully utilize those Vertafore products that you have. I'm going to share some of our plans for Accelerate in Atlanta today, and I want you to make sure that you know this is something you don't want to miss. I'll mention all this again, but let me do it right from the start. Here are some details that you're going to want to make note of. May the 17th through the 19th, Atlanta, Georgia. That is the when and the where. There's another date that you need to be aware of, and that is February the 15th. This is the last day for our early bird rate. You'll save $125 off of your registration by acting before then. And I know you're going to be convinced, so when you are convinced to join us in Atlanta, you can go to netvu.org and click on the Accelerate banner at the top and bottom of the home page to navigate to registration. Just a couple things about what you'll find on that home page. On that Accelerate page, there's also some things that you're going to want to make note of. There is a schedule overview there. Just a few things that you'll find when you get to that schedule. You'll see the things that we're doing prior to Accelerate, things like our Day of Caring that we've done for the last several years, and several chapter meetings that are currently being planned. You'll also see that we have 2 all-attendee sessions, one at breakfast on Thursday, featuring key folks from NetVU and Vertafore to get things going, and then the second on Friday at lunch, where we'll have our keynote speaker. You'll also see there the exhibit hall times and the Tech Hub hours. You'll also find time blocks for our education breakouts. These are fairly large blocks and not identified as 1-hour sessions. We'll get to that in just as we get closer to conference. I want to be sure that you plan to stay through Saturday. There's going to be 2 extended breakouts that will allow for longer and more in-depth sessions. We had some questions last year about that, and have no fear, we are holding classes on Saturday, but we promise to get you done by noon. You'll also see there that Vertafore is sponsoring this year's celebration, Vertafore End Zone celebration on Friday night in the College Football Hall of Fame. This is going to be a party that you do not want to miss. So I know that a lot of you are here to hear some specifics about the education breakouts that you'll see in Atlanta. And we're going to get to that, but first I wanted to talk just a little bit about the development process that goes on and your fellow users who volunteered their time to plan and present the sessions that you'll see in Atlanta. Last June, we brought together really over 20 volunteers and Vertafore staff here in our office in Texas to spend 2 days preparing for the coming 12 months of education. We talked about 2017 in Nashville. We talked about everything really, the number of attendees, the comments from the session evaluations, observations made by both the NetVU board and the Vertafore representatives that were there. And then once we had debriefed 2017 and had a good idea of your feedback, we moved on to the future. We did talk about Accelerate. It was just called Conference at the time. But we also talked a lot about other opportunities that are available to you for learning more about your systems. The group committed to several new initiatives during that meeting. Before I get into that, I want to take just a second to look here at our comments and see if anybody has had any questions. Lauren wants to be sure that everyone knows the Day of Caring is from 1 to 4 on Wednesday. Thanks for that detailed information. You can also look for some ways to donate to Day of Caring. We're going to be taking donations to pay for the supplies that we'll be using. There is an Amazon wish list that we've built, and you can find that on the Accelerate webpage. Lauren, thank you so much for jumping in with that comment. So now back to some of the initiatives that we talked about in June when we had the education leaders here. We have a new initiative that we're referring to as immersion classes. These are, by design, very small groups and very, very focused classes. They're aimed at arming you with what you need in the way of learning to be able to implement some of the systems and features that you've wanted to for a long time, but just haven't figured out yet what to do and how to get started. We also had commitment to produce webinars. These are going to be classes that are offered virtually, either in singles or in series. They're going to cover topics that you've maybe not even heard about before, or things that you have heard, but again, you just don't know where to get started. And things like new features, that sort of thing is what will be covered in those webinars. We also talked about providing education resources for our chapter meetings. These would be pre-recorded classes that can be used by the chapters to round out your meeting agenda. So if I've got any chapter leaders here, and Kathy Hall as chapter committee chair, I know that that's something that you are very interested in seeing come to pass. So I hope that's making you happy and you're seeing folks using those. We also talked about integration classes at conference. This is something that we've seen the interest increase in over the last few years. And what we mean by integrations is we want you to see how two systems fit together and work really well. We want you to know the ins and outs of data conversions. We want you to think about the workflow changes that are going to be needed so that you can make the most of those two systems working in tandem. So with those commitments in mind, the teams got to work on planning for the coming year's education. And you note I say coming year, so it's more than just conference, and it's more than just Accelerate. It is year-round learning. We want you to think of NetVU as being the place to come whenever you're looking for learning and education on your Vertafore products. Right off the bat, the ImageRight team got to work with Vertafore to schedule our very first immersion class. I'll talk about that first. The class is ImageRight Administrator. We actually filled up that class in just a little over a week, and we've already added a second session for it that is in June. There's still space available if you're interested, but we are filling that one up very, very quickly. So if you're interested, I'd encourage you to go to netvu.org and look at our events calendar, navigate to June, and you'll be able to find that class there. The second group working on an immersion class is our AIM education group, being led by Mike Havens at RT Specialty. Mike and the team at Vertafore have been working on a class that actually is on a new feature of the AIM system, and we're really looking forward to a terrific class for that AIM audience. In addition to the immersion classes, we added more than a half a dozen webinar series to our NetVU University content specifically aimed at AMS 360 and Vertafore agency platform. These are a series of classes that take you from what is this, why do I want it, how do I get started, how do I implement it, how do I communicate it to my customers and to my employees, and how do I report on it, just the gamut. What is the first step and what should be all of your next steps. So we're really pleased with that content that we've been able to add there. For Accelerate, the teams are working now, that's their biggest concentration at this point, working now to develop the tracks for Accelerate in Atlanta. There are going to be almost 200 classes being offered out there in May. And this year, we're going to be offering breakouts on the full range of Vertafore products. In addition, some special interest groups that I'll talk about. So not to go through a laundry list, but I just wanted you all to know the tracks that we're working on right now. So we're working on, obviously, AMS 360 and Vertafore Agency Platform, Sagitta, QQ Catalyst, AIM and other MGA products. Those cover our management, what we think of as management systems, Benefit Point for the employee benefits part of our business, and then ImageRight, that workflow and document management system that really works across the lines of all Vertafore users. and can help really take your firm to the next level. They're working on integrations between the management systems and both Benefit Point and ImageRight. And those sessions will be specific to the pairings, management system and other system, so that you can really maximize what you're learning while you're there. We also are planning classes on Risk Match. This is Vertafore's latest acquisition and data analytics powerhouse system. I have seen a couple of demonstrations of this product, and I will tell you, if you are looking for a way to learn what is going on with the data in your system, this is something that you do not want to miss. Give me just a second. I'm going to stop here and see what I've got in the way of comments. Thank you, Bird. I appreciate the comment about great news. Let's see. Not really seeing any others coming through, so I'll just keep charging ahead with what I have listed here for you. We're also going to have some classes on Reference Connect. Many of you are familiar with Reference Connect as a library of insurance forms and manuals and those kinds of things, but there is a new piece of Reference Connect that actually allows you to add things that are your own content to those libraries, and we're really excited to be able to demonstrate some of that for you in Atlanta. We're also going to have CERCON classes. This is the licensing and compliance, really industry leader. Someone said to me that we've got, I want to say something in excess of 60% of the business that goes on with licensing runs through that CERCON product. So very excited to be able to offer that in Atlanta. We're also planning a really robust tech / IT track. This will be, I'll talk a little bit more about some of what we're going to be offering there, but this is going to be the non-system type stuff, so really more general IT topics that will appeal to those folks charged with making sure everything's up and running correctly. We also have an executive leadership track again this year that is shaping up to really be, I think, one of the best that we've had in a long time. So I'm very excited about that. Those are the systems and kind of special interests that I think of when I look at what we're offering. We're also going to be offering across those systems and across those tracks different roles that are filled within the firms that use Vertafore products. These extend to client servicing. That'd be both personal lines and commercial lines, and on the brokerage side, underwriting and those kinds of roles. Accounting from all perspectives. System administrators, those charged with keeping databases up and running and desktops going. We'll also be addressing production type folks, application support, and database administration. There's others, those are just the highlights of what we're going to be offering out. We also are going to be teaching experience levels from beginner through advanced. And this year, for the first time, the educators are working to make sure that we can point you to resources that would get you up to the level that's going to be offered in any particular class at conference in Atlanta. In the past, it was up to you to figure out if the class was right for you and to find resources to be able to get up to speed so that you could keep up during that class. But we're going to make every effort to make sure you know where you can find learning and training and documents and anything that might help you get up to the level of the class that's going to be offered. So look for that as we go forward and get a little further down the road with our planning. So I mentioned that I was going to talk a little more about what's being offered. We don't have all of our track information in just yet. Piercy, I'm going to get to your question about the keynote speaker in just a second. So I mentioned that we're going to talk about some of the classes that are being developed. I have rough ideas of headlines, in other words, the titles of the classes that are going to be offered. And I just kind of want to go through some of the major systems and give you an idea of what we're going to be offering out there. Want to start with the AIM group. Just a couple of things that they're offering are bordereau reporting and developing data validations. In the AMS 360 and Vertafore Agency Platform track, we have My Agency Reports and Download Setup and Getting Started as an example. On Sagitta, we're going to be talking about report builder and dictionaries. We also have a class titled Steering Your Way Through Sagitta and Benefit Point Integration. That really all important pairing of systems that we talked about that I mentioned just a little earlier. And then speaking of Benefit Point, a couple of things that you can look forward to. One is Benefit Point for new agencies, and another is reporting for prospecting. And then on the ImageRight side, a couple of things that we'll be showing: implementing WorkSmart for accounting and HR, and another would be Workflow Studio, both beginner and advanced classes. On the tech/IT side, we have cybersecurity and data analytics. So if that's your bag, we're going to be able to offer you something really exciting in Atlanta when we get out there. On the executive leadership side, we start off that track with our agency carrier roundtables in the first session on Thursday. We also are planning a session on emerging risks and another one on cash flow management to maximize value. There's more to come. These are just a couple from each of the tracks that I pulled out that I thought might be of particular interest to you, and also sort of pique your interest over what else we might be offering. Our planning and development timetable is set. We're expecting to have all of our conference session topics turned in early in February. Then more details, things like descriptions, speakers, and time slots are going to be due in here in early March. And as these deadlines approach and pass, the details that are being gathered are going to be posted to the Accelerate webpage. Income for announcements as these things are posted. One of the things that we heard from you loud and clear last year is that you want to know about any class that might be of interest to you. Now that's a big ask, and it's sometimes hard to make sure we know what you want, but one of the ways that we're going to try and address that this year is through cross-posting of classes. So as an example, in the Sagitta class, Sagitta track, if we have a class that talks about Sagitta and ImageRight, we'll be showing you that class in both the Sagitta track and in the ImageRight track. So if you tend to focus on the name of a single track, you're not going to miss out on things that are being offered in other areas that might be of interest to you. So again, that came as a suggestion from a couple of different sources last year, and we're going to work very, very hard to make that happen for you. We talked a lot about the education that's being planned. There's other things around this event that I want to be sure that you're aware of. Very soon we'll be opening up the InCom community that's set up specifically for registered conference attendees. Once that's opened up, you're going to really depend on that InCom community to find news about Accelerate and have access to the handouts and other materials that you're going to want to bring with you when you come to Atlanta. Now, I know that's an awful lot to absorb in a very short period of time. It looks like to me I'm about 20 minutes into this, and that was kind of our goal. I will take some questions. I do want to go back over those details again, though. Here's the Accelerate details that you need to know right now. The date is May the 17th through the 19th. The place is Atlanta, Georgia. The early bird cutoff is February 15th. Close of business on February the 15th. And remember, you can save $125 off your registration by acting by that time. You can access registration through the homepage at NetVU.org. And for those of you that might be joining us that are relatively new to NetVU, or you have never taken advantage of any of the resources at NetVU.org and you need a login and password, you can contact us at info@netview.org, and somebody on our member services team would be glad to assist you. They can assist you with a brand new login and password, and they can also reset your password if you need that and let you know what your login ID is. You're going to want to be sure you have all of that before you go to the registration page, because it's going to be important. That's going to be important information in order to be able to get registered. That registration page is also where you're going to find information about the hotels. The conference, the folks that we're using to help us with registration are taking care of not just your paid registration for the event, but also any of the housing needs that you have. So I'm going to turn here for just a second and take a look at this other screen, see if we've got any new comments that are coming in. Roni, thank you so much for your comment. I have no desire to be a newscaster. I love what I do, and I am I think well placed. Hopefully other people think the same thing. Lynn mentions that we hope to have 75 carriers and solution providers in our exhibit hall. Lynn, I'm not sure how I overlooked mentioning that. We've got a terrific hall. Lynn Albertson in our business development department has done a terrific job of getting folks that have been with us in the past to commit to come to Atlanta, as well as bringing in a number of new exhibitors and sponsors who I'm sure you're going to want to see when you get out there this year. The exhibit hall, I've seen it a couple of times, and it is enormous, and we're working very, very hard to fill it up with people that you really do want to talk to. So Lynn, thank you for bringing that up to me. I appreciate that. We have got our keynote speaker this year, and I wish I had his name. I don't. We will be making an announcement about that and giving you more information specifically about who he is. But the gentleman that we've asked to join us on Friday at lunch is someone who is very attuned to generational challenges. So as we think about the boomers, and I'm one of them, who are looking to retire in the next 10 years, one of the things that is just everybody's just struggling with is how do we man our firms with folks who are as committed to the organization as the ones who are retiring, and how do we do it quickly so that we're not getting, you know, that brain drain that everybody talks about. And the keynote speaker that we have this year is going to talk about how you encourage and recruit a younger generation that's going to come in and fill those roles that are being vacated when boomers are retiring. He'll also talk a lot about how generations work together. So it's going to be important that the people you hire are able to relate to and communicate with the ones who are ready to transfer their what they know into the next group and ride off into the sunset or sail off into the sunset, whatever your retirement plans are. And so he's going to talk to us for, I think his speech is probably 35 minutes maybe. He's written a book, and he does a lot of public speaking and a lot of research in this topic. So watch Income and watch our newsletters for that information, because we will be giving you a lot more about him in a little bit. I wish I had thought. Oh, Kitty Ambers is helping me out here. Thank you, Kitty. It's actually Jason Dorsey is the name of our speaker. And he talks about millennials at work. So it's really exciting. We've seen a little clip from a presentation that he's done. I've read a little bit of his book, and I think you're really going to enjoy him. He's a very engaging speaker, and so you're going to learn a little, and you're going to laugh a lot. I can guarantee you that. So I'm not really seeing anything else coming in our feed. And we are a little bit over time. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this up by telling you thank you. Thank you for joining us today, taking a little bit of time out of your work day. I hope that you've gotten some good information here. Again, watch Income and the newsletters for specifics and announcements as additional details develop. I really want to thank you all for joining me today, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.